what it means to be a zombie. I often ponder the nature of lifeless flesh. Let me assure you that this is not some strange hobby of mine, and I assure you that I am of sound mind. You might say that this is a matter of the utmost importance, but I will tell you about that later. In a very short space of time, I have come to several conclusions concerning the tissues of the dead. These conclusions have made me put aside the images of lifeless flesh in the movies and accept the harsh reality. Let me outline them for you. First of all, dead flesh is nothing but meat devoid of vitality. In the absence of a pulsating heart, blood ceases to circulate. It clots, cools, and settles in the extremities, causing the skin to take on a reddish-purple hue. Although it takes several years for the body to fully decompose, signs of decomposition appear within hours or days of death. The liquefaction process begins, turning internal organs into gases, resulting in significant abdominal bloat. In addition, the skin becomes blistered and shedding. As we know, gases need an outlet, and lifeless flesh is also a putrid internal fluid that is left to seep out and accumulate wherever it can. Before this happens, the flesh has already served as food for countless maggots, but I won't go into further detail. These are just some technical aspects, but the bottom line is that dead tissue is unequivocally disgusting. It becomes spongy, decomposed, and nauseatingly tender, like an apple with a brown spot that bursts open, exposing the mush underneath. It gives off a disgusting sensation of dampness and slime, and a stench reminiscent of the odor of freshly dug graves. And now for the best part. I experienced all of this firsthand. As I've said before, I'm neither fetishist nor crazy, but circumstances locked me in my barricaded house, surrounded by an unimaginably huge horde of zombies. Caught off guard and with no time to prepare, I successfully dispatched 2 undead creatures that had snuck in through the open door. Without proper fortifications, however, my house was vulnerable. All the doors and windows were under relentless attack by a mob of the undead determined to get in. Here I am in the corner of my living room, clutching my 9mm pistol tightly in my hands. The remaining ammunition is scattered on the floor beside me, indicating a dwindling supply. Just a few feet away from me lie the motionless bodies of the 2 zombies I managed to destroy. Their bruised and rotting skin, soaked with bodily fluids, is visible through the damp stains on their clothing. Bullet holes have been punched through their heads, exposing the decomposed sludge that once contained their brains. One of them stands directly in front of me, his mouth contorted in a grin, showing broken and bloody teeth. His outstretched arm appears to be a skeleton, as the rotting flesh is shriveled. Looking down, I notice viscous fingerprints in the places where the undead grabbed me earlier. The echoes of their moans as they made their way inside still echo through me, a chorus of hunger or perhaps frustration at being trapped in their undead state. The stench they exude hangs in the air, almost palpable to the taste. It penetrates my nostrils and coats my tongue, making my stomach flinch as I fight the acidic burning coming up my throat. The front door swings open with a crack, and a horde of dead men rush in. The stages of decomposition vary from the just dead to those who have lost time for weeks. Some shuffle with unsteady steps. Others waddle, their twisted limbs and broken bodies leaving behind a trail of torn flesh and putrid sludge, staining the pristine white tile a grotesque shade of brown. I watch them approach, no longer alive, but driven by an invisible force behind their lifeless facade. It's as if some twisted energy is animating them, forming this army of fierce and twisted creatures with an unquenchable thirst for the flesh of the living. I could have been in their shoes and suffered the same fate, but that was never my intention. The ammunition I had wasn't enough to take out the oncoming mass of undead, but in the end, it only took one bullet to keep myself from becoming one of them. Picking up the gun, I put it to my eye socket, not knowing if this method will prove effective, though I vaguely recall it being considered more reliable than a shot under the chin. When the first zombie reaches out, fingertips touching my cheek, I pull the trigger with determination. Gone are the days when I pondered the essence of lifeless flesh. Now I comprehend it on a much deeper level than ever before. It's been about 2 weeks since the firearm misfired, turning my living body into a feast for the horde gathered in my living room. They hadn't eaten me to the bone, which would have been preferable, but they'd left enough for me to be reborn as one of them. I was once just meat, but now I wander alongside the dead in search of fresh food. I have little control over my legs, and as a result my gait is clumsy and waddling. There is an unbearable stench emanating from my decomposing form, and my eyes are bulging out of my eye sockets due to the disgusting bloating effect. The remnants of my skin have already begun to blister and flake off at any touch. This is far from a comfortable existence. I realize that the moans emitted by my decomposed vocal cords are not only due to my inability to speak, but also due to the intense agony caused by the decomposition process. No human being still alive can understand the excruciating pain of feeling every organ and cell dissolve into the putrid mixture that chokes your sprawling skin. Nor can they comprehend the agonizing torment as these same fluids seep outward through ever-widening cracks in your dermis. You can, even for a moment, imagine the piercing sensation of rotting ligaments and tendons being stretched until they finally succumb, leaving appendages hanging on thin strands of tissue or simply tearing away entirely. A zombie's existence is nothing but unbearable agony, drowned out for a moment only by the consumption of living flesh. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true state of dead flesh.